Good morning, students. Today we'll discuss a topic called as relationship between a banker and the customer. In the previous class, we were discussing about the relationship between a banker and the customer. Whenever a person opens a bank account, any kind of account, savings, fixed or recurring deposit account, a relationship between a banker and his customers immediately starts. This is a contractual relationship, or it is an agreement between the banker and his customer. Okay, the word customer has not been defined either in England or in India, but in the simplest form we can understand that any person who has opened a bank account is considered to be a customer of the bank, and he has to fulfill the three conditions. The first condition is that he has to open an account, one or the other account. Second, there must be banking transaction between the banker and the customer. Third, there must be frequency of transactions. Okay, these are three basic conditions for a person to be considered as a customer of a bank. When the account is open, a contractual relationship is also established. This relationship can be divided into two parts. One is the general relationship, second, special relationship. General relationship between the banker and the customer is again classified into two types: primary relationship, subsidiary relationship. Okay, so the primary relation, general relationship is a one is primary relation, the second one is subsidiary relation. The primary relationship or the general relationship of a banker and the customer is of a debtor and a creditor. When a person opens a bank account, the banker becomes the debtor, the customer is the creditor. Similarly, when a customer takes loan from the bank, the banker is creditor, the customer is the debtor. We know who is a debtor and a creditor. The person who takes money from someone is a debtor. The person who gives money to others is a creditor, right? So primary relationship of debtor, banker and customer is that of a debtor and creditor. But this relationship has got special features. What are the special features relating to the debtor and creditor relationship of a banker? The first one is a banker is a dignified debtor. Banker is known as a dignified debtor because he accepts the loan or he accepts the cash in the name of deposit. While in commercial debt, we when we take a when we take money from someone, we call it as loan. But here banker is taking money from us, but he is not calling it as loan, but rather it is known as deposit. That's why we call him as a dignified debtor. Okay, then secondly, there is a dignified place of borrowing the money or receiving the money. That means the creditor has to go to the debtor, the customer has to go to the bank for giving the money. In the normal commercial debt, the creditor has to go to the debtor has to go to the creditors, right? So because of that, he is called as a dignified debtor. Then demand should be made at proper place. Whenever the customer wants his money back, he has to go to the bank only. Then only he can ask the banker to repay the money, right? So there is a proper place where the money can be received by the customer. That is also one reason why he is called as a dignified debtor. And demand should be made on working day and business hours. Demand, that is money, the money what has to be paid by the customer, sorry, by the banker to the customer, should be made only on the working days. During holidays, on Sundays or second Saturdays, fourth Saturday, we cannot go and demand for money from the bankers. And the timing also is there during the business hours only. That means if the bank starts at 10:30 to 4:30, then we are supposed to visit the bank only during this time. Then only we are eligible to receive the money. Otherwise, the bank is not responsible to pay the money. So therefore, it is called as a dignified debtor. Then demand should be made in proper form. Even though the money is belonging to the customer only, which is lying with the banker, while asking back for the money, while withdrawing money from the bank, it should be made in proper form, either through a check or through a withdrawal form. We cannot just go and say, give me the money. In normal commercial debt, there is no need of a check form, there is no need of a withdrawal slip. Payment will be made in cash, right? But here in banking, that is not possible. So because of these 5 reasons, the banker is called as a dignified debtor. In exam, you will be asked a question. Explain the debtor and creditor relationship of a banker. Or they may ask, explain the special feature or why a banker is called a dignified debtor, right? In that, you are supposed to mention that the relationship between the customer and the banker is divided into two, general and special relationship. General relationship is again divided into two types, primary and subsidiary. Primary relationship of a banker and a customer is that of a debtor and a creditor. When the customer opens the bank account, he is the debtor, bank is the creditor. Similarly, or on the contrary, if the customer takes loan from the bank, banker is the creditor, customer becomes the debtor. We also discussed the special features why the banker is called dignified debtor. So you should answer only these points if the question is why a banker is called as a dignified debtor. Okay. So next we'll move on to the second type of general relationship, that is subsidiary relationship. There are 3 types of subsidiary relationship between the banker and the customer. The first one is the bailor and bailee. Bailor means when a person transfers possession of the goods or valuables to another, but not the ownership, he is called as the bailee. While the goods in the bailee's possession, the bailor is still the rightful owner. That means whenever a customer keeps valuables, ornaments for safe custody with the banker, the bailor and bailee relationship comes into existence. Banker is called the bailee and the customer is called the bailor. Okay. Now we open a locker. When we open a locker, in that situation, customer is the bailor. That means if I open a locker, I am the bailor. Bailee will be the bank in which I am opening the locker. Then trustee and beneficiary. When a banker is entrusted with some trust work to safeguard property of some persons, example, when a customer deposits the money for the safe custody or for the son's education, it is bounded duty of the banker that the money should be used for education purpose only, but not for others. In such case, the banker becomes the trustee and the customer becomes the beneficiary. Okay. Then the principal and agent. The modern banks provide certain agency service for the attraction of customers. That means they make certain payments, they receive payments on behalf of their customers. When the bank does or performs certain functions on behalf of their customer, the principal and agent relationship is existing. Banker is the principal, agent is the customer. Sorry, customer is the principal, banker is the agent. Say for example, bank pays LIC premium on behalf of the customer. Then in that, principal is the customer, agent is the banker. Bank collects dividends on behalf of the bank customer. In that case also, customer is the principal, bank is the agent. That means bank is performing duties on behalf of its customer. then this relationship comes into existence, that is principal and agent relationship. So I hope it is clear to you about the general and subsidiary relationship of a banker and a customer. In today's class, I would like to explain about the special relationship. The second type of relationship between the banker and the customer is the special relationship. Special relationship means the mutual duties and rights of the banker and the customer. There are certain duties or obligations of the banker. Similarly, of the responsibilities of the customers also will be there. These duties and obligations of the banker are considered as the special relationship. These special relationship arise because of the debtor and creditor relationship between the banker and his customer. Okay, these special relationship in detail we'll be discussing one by one. They are like one huge topic only. Okay, so in today's class we will only be discussing about two types. One is the first, obligation to honor the checks, then obligation to maintain the secrecy of accounts. Okay, so first special type of relationship between the banker and the customer is obligation to honor the checks. You know that banker receives the deposit from the customer. These deposits are repayable to customers as and when demand is made by the customer. The demand should be made at right place, at right manner, and in the right form. It means that demand should be made in proper form and at proper time. Customer should present the check to the banker for repayment of his deposits. When the customer presents the check, it is the duty or obligation of the banker to honor the check and pay the money. Honoring the checks subject to the credit balance of customer's account, that is availability of sufficient funds or availability of amount in account at least to meet the checks. Right, it means what? It is the duty whenever a check is presented by the customer for withdrawal to the banker, it is the duty or the obligation of the banker to honor. To honor means to pay the money to the customer. Okay, the banker is responsible, or it is his duty to pay the money subject to certain conditions. What is the first condition? Availability of sufficient funds in the customer's account. For honoring the customer's checks, sufficient funds should be available in the credit of customer's account. Sufficient funds means equal to the amount of checks presented. This is the first condition. Second condition is applicability of funds. The funds must be properly applicable to the payment of the customer's check that is presented. For example, the trust funds cannot be used or applied for the purpose other than those covered by the trusts. Right? Then the third condition is banker duly required to pay. Banker will honor his customers' checks provided if it is correct in all respects, such as date, amount in words and figures, signature is correct, material alteration is not there, it is signed by the drawee, that to full signature is there and not short form, then only the banker will honor the checks. And banker will not honor the stale checks and post dated checks before the due date. Stale check means the check are valid for a period of 3 months only. If a customer presents a check which has been already stale, that means 3 months are already over, such checks will not be honored by the bank. Such a check is called as stale check. Post dated checks are the checks for which the due date has not yet come. Suppose today is 18th September 2020. I give a check to Deepali of 1 lakh rupees dated 1st October 2020. 20. That means there are still 15 days to go. If Deepali goes to the bank tomorrow and presents the check, she will not be eligible to receive the money. Why? Because it is a post dated check. Post dated checks are the checks for which the due date has not yet arrived or not yet come. Stale checks are the checks for which the date is already over. 3 months are already over. Previously, till last year, the checks were valid for 6 months, but now the checks are only valid for 3 months. Okay. So obligation, the first special relationship of the banker we are discussing, that is obligation to honor the checks. It is the duty or the obligation of the banker to pay the money to the customer as and when he makes the demand. He has to pay the money only if the conditions are fulfilled. That means sufficient fund must be there in the customer's account. Then these funds must be available for the customer to use it for his own purpose. It should not be entrusted for funds, trust funds, or maybe it is a business account. From there, he cannot use it for personal account or personal consumption. He cannot withdraw the money. Then banker will honor the customer's check only if it is correct. Date is correct, amount is written in words and figures, signature is matching, there is no alteration, amount is not scratched and written overwritten, date is not scratched and overwritten, there is no material alteration, then only, and if it is not a stale check or a post dated check, then only the banker is responsible to pay the money. Otherwise, he is not at all responsible to pay the money. You must you have your own bank accounts. I know, I'm sure that you have come across all these aspects. Whenever you present a check, all these things you take into consideration, right? Then there should not be, the last one is, there should not be any bar or restriction. There should not be any bar or restriction, should not be any restriction for honoring the customer's checks. There should not be any legal bar preventing the payment of checks. For example, garnishee order. What is garnishee order? We will discuss it in detail in the coming classes. Garnishee order is like a ban, or it's an order by the court to stop payments relating to the customer's account. If there is any garnishee order, in such cases, the banker is not obliged to pay the money to his customers. Okay, so did you understand? First is he has to make payment for the checks. What are the conditions when he can make payments? We discussed these conditions. 4 conditions are there. If all these conditions are fulfilled, then he can pay the money. In some cases, the checks of the customers are dishonored. Okay, when the check of a customer is dishonored, first situation is insufficient funds, means there is no money available in the credit of the customer's account. In such case, the banker will not provide the money to the customer. Say for example, Mr. A goes to his bank and presents a check of 10,000 rupees, and there is only 5,000 rupees in his account. In such case, the money which the check is of 10,000, money which is there in the account is 5,000. The funds are not matching to the checks which has been presented. In such case, the banker will not make any payment for the check which is presented. Maximum he can withdraw is 4,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees, because he has to keep the minimum balance also in his account. Then stale checks. Stale checks are those checks on which the date is already expired. Say for example, Mr. A drew a check on 1/1/2020. Okay, the check is valid for 3 months. So 1/1/2020 means 1, 2, 3. 1st April, it's already 3 months is over. If he goes on 2nd April 2020 and presents the check in spite of having money in the account, the check will not be honored or the check will not be paid. Why? Because it is a stale check. The date is already over for the check. Such checks will not be honored by the banker. Then post-dated checks presented will not be honored by the bankers. Why? The post-dated check means the check for which the due date had not yet arrived. Such checks presented for payment will not be honored by the banker. Then on receipt of garnishee order. Garnishee order is the order issued by the court to stop the payments of the customer. Why the bank orders it, who applies to the high court to stop the payment, all that we'll discuss it in detail. So here you should remember that when when the banker will not pay the money, when there are insufficient funds, when the check presented is a stale check, when the check presented is a post dated check, and if there is any garnishee order on the check on the account, then payment will not be paid. Then death, insanity of the customer. The customer whose account is there, in spite of be having more money in the account, if the customer is not alive, in such situation, on his death, money will not be paid until unless his survivors, his children or his wife, whoever is there, will not present the documents. All the documents have to be provided. Only then the banker will pay the money to his customers. So with this, I conclude the first function. So today, what did we discuss? The first special relationship of the banker and the customer, that is of the obligation to honor the checks. The next what to say, uh, relationship of a banker and a customer is that of a obligation to maintain secrecy of customer's bank account. Okay, let us try to understand. It is an implied duty of the banker to maintain the secrecy of the bank account. That means what? Implied means what? It is understood. It is compulsory for the banker not to disclose the secrets of his customers to other persons. Okay, if he discloses without the permission of his customer, then he will have to be punished for that. Okay, he will have to bear a fine, or he can face legal actions for disclosing the secrets of his customer's account. Now what is the secret means? What it means, what, how much money is deposited, how much money is lying in the customer's account, what is the frequency of withdrawal, how many checks have been deposited, how many bills have been deposited for collections, what are the checks issued, how much loan he has taken. All these details the banker is not supposed to tell to any outsider without the permission of his customer. Then in some cases, like we understood, first we understood he has to pay the checks which are presented by the customer. The second special relationship or the special duty of the banker is to maintain the secrets of his customer's account. In some situations, okay, the banker is given permission to disclose the secrets of his customer's account. So let us try to understand what are the situations, what are the secret situations when the banker is allowed to disclose the secrets of his customer's account. The first one is when there is a expressed consent. When there is a expressed consent from the customer. What does it mean? It means that when the customer himself has given the permission to the banker to give details to outsiders. Okay, in such situation, the banker can disclose the secrets of his customer to outsiders or to a third party. Example, sometimes the customer wants to take loan from another bank. He has an account in the State Bank of India. He wants to take loan from other bank. Now other bank, that is maybe syndicate bank. Syndicate bank will be interested in knowing the credit worthiness of this Mr. A. So it might approach the banker of the Mr. A. In such situation, if Mr. A, he has to give it in writing to his banker, stating that you can give my account details to the syndicate bank as I have approached them for a loan. Or he might give in writing his expressed consent to his banker, stating that give all the details of my account to my lawyer, to my manager, to my secretary, etc. Right? Businessmen usually they give their account details to their manager, secretary, or their lawyers, so that it will be easy for them to operate the current account of the customer. So first, the banker can disclose if there is a expressed consent by the customer. Then next one is implied consent. Implied consent of the customer means it is the grant. Implied means granted. Customer may be by giving the name of the banker as a reference, or when the customer takes loan from the banker on basis of guarantee. In such case, it is implied that the customer has authorized the banker for processing the necessary information to the third party. That means, as like if the customer wants to take loan from other bank and he has given this bank account for reference, in that case it is granted or it is understood that the banker can give all the details to other banker, okay, or other third party, whoever is interested in knowing about the details of his account. Okay, then the third situation wherein the banker can disclose his customer's detail to the third party is under the compulsion of law. Under the compulsion of law means banker can disclose all the customer's account to public authorities when he is compelled by the law of the country. Say for example, the court order comes to the banker asking for evidence. He becomes bankrupt or he is in cheating. Some legal action is taken on the customer. In that case, the court may order the banker of the person who is on whom the legal action is taking to give all the details of his account. Then the banker can disclose all the details. Then under the Income Tax Act 1961, all the details must be given. If he is caught for some delay in income tax paying, or he has cheated on paying income tax, in such situation also the law might order his banker to give the details of his account. So under Income Tax Account, under Companies Act, under RBI Act, under Banking Regulation Act, Disclosure to Police, under Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, under these acts, the government sometimes asks the banker for information. In such situation, the banker has to disclose all the facts, even though there is no impressed or implied consent from the customer. He has to oblige to the government. Okay, so these are few situations. Then where the duty to public disclosure. And the fourth one is disclosure in public interest. Disclosure in public interest means when the customer is dealing against the interest of the countries in times of war with another country. In such case, it is the duty of the banker to disclose the customer's account without his consent. Without his permission, he can give the details of his account to the government or the officials. Okay. Then where the next one is bankers own interest. Banker can disclose the information of the customer's account to the outsider for the protection of his interest. For example, where the bank files a suit to recovery an overdraft or loan granted to a customer. In such case, the banker can disclose the information of the customer's account to its lawyers. Say, for example, a person takes loan from the bank, but he does not repay it to the bank. In such situation, banker can disclose all the details of the customer to the banker's lawyer. They have to put a case on him, right? So in that situation, banker can give all the details of its customer to its lawyer so that it can it can take a legal action against the customer who has not been fulfilling his duty of repayment of the loan which he has taken, right? So today we discussed about two special fee relationship of the banker and the customer. First is obligation to honor the check. Second is obligation to maintain the secrecy of accounts. We also understood when or what are the situations or conditions in which the banker is allowed to disclose the secrets of his customer's account. So I will conclude this today's session with this. In tomorrow's class, we'll discuss about the right of lien or other topic we'll be discussing in the next class. Thank you.